이제 많은 분들께서 관심 있게 기다리셨던 기조 연설 시간이 준비가 되어 있습니다. 오늘 기조 연설은 Infrastructure is Destiny를 주제로 좌담 형식으로 먼저 진행될 예정인데요. 미국의 인공지능 연구기업인 오픈AI의 제이슨 권 CSO님께서 화상으로 연결될 예정이고요. 오늘 좌담은 국가인공지능위원회 분과위원장이신 오혜연 카이스트 교수님께서 진행해 주시겠습니다. 카이스트 교수님 무대 위쪽으로 모시겠습니다. 여러분 뜨거운 박수로 환영해 주시기 바랍니다. Please welcome her with a big round of applause.
So Jason, I'm going to just conduct this, I guess, fireside chat in English. I believe it's being simultaneously translated, interpreted into Korean. So in today's session, we have it's very short. We only have 15 minutes, but I would like to really get your insights from an insider of probably the best, the world-leading company right now for generative AI all over the world. So in your experience at OpenAI, I would like to ask you to share what you think is the future direction that we should be heading in terms of AI, of course, and also how Korea, and we also have ministers from other countries around the world, so how countries other than the US, so including Korea, Singapore, Saudi Arabia, etc., can be partners of OpenAI collaboration such that the whole world can actually participate in this development and moving forward on this in this AI, the current AI, and what is coming in the future. So with that brief introduction, my first question, and the ordering of the question may be slightly different from what you had received from the organization. So the first question is about the future of AI and what OpenAI is thinking. So we have been hearing models are getting have been getting bigger, and then now we're actually seeing smaller models, we're seeing open models, we're seeing LLM agents, we're seeing multimodality, we're seeing something called, I guess, physical AI, so the marriage of robotics and LLMs and other these foundational models. So with respect to all of this that's going on, it is pretty crazy. There are a lot of things going on right now, but from your experience being at OpenAI, as again the leading company, what is your view of the future direction of AI, and what is OpenAI doing, as much as you can reveal, towards this future?
Yeah, thanks for the question. And also, first, thanks for having me here. And also thanks especially to Minister Yoon and for Minister Yu and MSIT for making the time. To answer your question, I think there are several aspects of how we think about the future of AI. In terms of what we are specifically focusing on, you can think about some of the advances that are coming around the corner. We had the reasoning models come out last year, the 01 and 03 series models that let you ask questions and converse and interact with the models, and it would not just instantly respond, but actually go through what we call a chain of thought and help you get through or solve more complicated problems by reasoning through them. And then you could actually see the thought process of the models, and this is an additional advance in artificial intelligence. And those advances are going to continue to scale. And one of the things that it revealed is that as you increase the amount of compute that you apply, not just at the training level, but at the inference level, so the amount of compute that you apply during the thinking time, the amount of capabilities or the amount or the quality of the answers improve. And so it's not just the amount of compute that you have when you first train the model, but it's also the amount of compute that you have when you use the model. And this is going to have implications for how much infrastructure development that every country is going to be interested in investing when it comes to AI development. To your other point about how there's just a proliferation of models, both in terms of modalities. There are small models, there are big models, there's open source models, there's image models, video models, text models. I think there are a few observations. One is that all those modalities will continue to be developed. You'll get all of these capabilities, audio, video, images. I think one of the things you'll see, both from OpenAI and some of the bigger labs, is a consolidation of the modalities into a single model. So that's one of the things I think Sam has talked about, which is for GPT-5, what we will be doing is combining all of those into a single model. So you'll be able to have all the modalities not in a separate set of models, but combined in a model. And you'll probably see the other labs doing the same thing, which makes sense because if you think about the nature of intelligence that we have, for example, it's all combined. It's not that we have all these separate capabilities that are spread out throughout our intelligence, and it's actually the combination that sometimes leads to something that's greater than some of its parts. And this is also going to probably be something that advances physical intelligence. You can imagine that these multimodal capabilities combined into a single model is something that's going to be really important for things like robotics when you put these kinds of AI capabilities inside of physical machines like that. The other aspect of this, with you have these additional capabilities going everywhere, is that you're just going to get a lot of choices. And so if you're a country outside the United States and you are looking to participate in this innovation wave, and you have a variety of use cases and a variety of different cost structures you need to think about, you'll be able to have a lot of different strategies you can adopt. You can have smaller models for particular use cases that you don't need, the latest capabilities. Capabilities that were around about a year ago are sufficient for your purposes. You could have smaller models that are cheaper, so you can serve more people at efficient costs. Or you could take the most advanced capabilities for some of the hardest problems you want to work on and sort of match the resource allocation that you want for the problems that are most difficult, that are worth the investment. And you don't necessarily need to have the most expensive models serving use cases that don't necessarily need those things. And so it's really turning into something that is like infrastructure. It's not just a product in that way. And because of that, I think each country is going to have to think about it from the standpoint of this is something that is like electricity. It's something like energy that you're building your company or that you're building your country around. And that is why we call this. We kind of refer to this as infrastructure as destiny. Because it is going to be an important part of how every country thinks about growing in the 21st century. And that's why it's a combination of land, compute, energy. You combine these things, and these are going to be sort of the pillars of economic growth, in the age of AI.
Okay, thank you for that answer. I think You've told us a lot of things, and it probably takes a little bit of time for everyone here to really understand all of the things that you've mentioned. Let's dig a little bit deeper into what each country can and should do, and what companies like OpenAI should or is willing to do in terms of cooperation with these different countries. So let's now at least talk about Korea, since we're in Korea right now. So here in Korea, we do have the AI ecosystem. We have the semiconductors, which is probably the strength of the country. We have the data centers. They're not as strong as they should be, but the government is actually investing a lot of money into building more data centers with a lot more GPU capabilities. And we do, in Korea, have some proprietary models. We have some people here from companies like Naver and LG and startups as well who are building these frontier models. So, and of course on top of that, as you know, I am at a university, and so we have, I think, a really great pool of talent as well. And I know that at OpenAI, we also have some students or graduates from the Korean universities working on your models as well. So what is your view? What's plans do you have for collaborating with the Korean government, the Korean universities, the Korean industry partners, as well as, if you'd like, other partners around the world?
Yeah, so our general approach when we expand internationally is to have the development of artificial intelligence in that country feel very much like it is within that country. And I think one of the things that's different about AI when it comes to this technology, especially compared to software, is it has a very strong national component. And that makes sense because one of the first sort of modalities of AI is language itself. And the intelligence actually is sort of an emergent quality of training on language. And that really kind of ties to national identity. And so some of the partnerships that we already have in Korea, for example, is that we have a MOU with the Korean Development Bank, where we have committed to working with KDB to collaborate in advancing Korea's AI ecosystem by supporting AI startups. We've had startup competitions before in Korea and also in Seoul, and we've had startups come and visit our OpenAI offices. Some of them have won those hackathons, and we work with a number of Korean startups already. We already have a partnership also with Kakao. They're integrating some of our LLM technologies into their products, and looking really forward to what they continue to do and build with our models. And I think having local partners like that is a really important part of our strategy, because as I was saying before, one of the things that we really care about is the technology being something that is welcomed by people in each country, feeling like it is actually something that is theirs, not necessarily something that is just exported into the country. And I think another aspect of this is when we talk about infrastructure, partnerships with some of the other Korean companies that are elements of the hardware stack are really important. Certainly Samsung, SK Hynix are really important companies when it comes to HBM, which is a critical technology when it comes to designing the inference chips that you need to power these data centers. And those companies are going to become critical players in this AI revolution.
Yeah, so let's expand on that a little bit more. So you mentioned Samsung and Hynix, and we're now also talking about data structures that are being built by the Korean or invested by the Korean government. But you've also mentioned that not every country or not every, I guess, region or company has to build these really huge models that OpenAI is building. Perhaps it depends on what they're trying to do. And so, and it's not always going to be importing technologies like OpenAI's models. Of course, that's one part of it. But every country has to sort of have its own capability as well of developing their own models, building up their own ecosystem. So what would you say are some directions that these countries, including Korea, that are not necessarily like at the frontier of all of this AI, of course, Korea is sort of, I think, one of the top countries, but there are others who are trying to, it seems like trying to play catch up, but I think my personal opinion is that this whole AI thing is just starting now, and there's so much more to go. And so if for each country to sort of develop their own programs and sort of move ahead and not fall behind, what should they do? What should they invest mostly on the AI infrastructure and data centers? Should they develop their own models for their own citizens? Or should they be like importing different models and developing sort of applications on top of those? So what are your thoughts?
Yeah, this is a really great question. And I think the way to think about this might not be any different from how people have been thinking about international trade for a really long time, which is just comparative advantage. And so, when it comes to Korea, for example, there's a lot of scientific knowledge, there's a lot of technical talent inside of Korea. There's certainly a lot of industrial-based strength in Korea as well, and which leads to the capabilities to produce HBM technologies like what I was talking about before. And if you think about if you think about AI in terms of layers, and there's a compute layer, which you can break down into data centers and energy, and as well as the semiconductor components, both logic and memory. Then there's the model layer, which is the artificial intelligence labs training large models, or you could also think about smaller models that are more use case design. And then there's the application layer, which is software applications that are built on top of AI models that are directly folding the user relationships, which tend to be the profit-making relationships. And so when you are a country looking to have an AI strategy, you might just want to look at what are the things that you have inside the country that in terms of where you are in terms of the resources or advantages when it comes to this whole stack, right? So certain countries may have advantages when it comes to being able to participate in the compute layer. Other countries may have advantages when it comes to the research talent or the technical talent to train models. Other countries may have already developed or produced technology companies that have a user base. And certainly Korea has a number of companies like that through the K Internet Coalition, Naver, Kakao also being good examples of that. And then I think other countries might have similar companies that have succeeded at one of these layers. And those are perfectly fine areas to enter or to sustain participation in the AI ecosystem. And then from there, I don't think it's necessary for a country to think that they have to have something indigenous in every single layer, because you can compete at the layer that you're really best at, and then kind of think about using substitute components from other countries, to complement. I think that one thing that is going to be really important, though, is having a strategy or way for ensuring that the models that you use in a particular country are just localized, language-wise and logic-wise, for the culture and language in that country. And I think every model developer understands that, and certainly we do as well. Whenever we try to make our models available in particular countries, is we make a particular effort to ensure that that the country in question, that the model is tuned better for the language of that country and some of the cultural values. And so that's where some of the fine-tuning techniques might come into play. And then sometimes in order to increase the efficiency of the model in that particular language, you might go and retrain aspects of it when it comes to token processing. And so those are sort of refinements to model training that you might adopt as a country strategy so that the local version of the model runs better for that country. And so I think that there are many ways to participate in this. And if you are looking for a national strategy, I don't think you necessarily have to think of it as we need to have our own version of OpenAI. But what I think you can do is think about this from the standpoint of, okay, every country is going to need to think about AI as an infrastructural thing. And you can still put that together without necessarily using all the technology being built in that country, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. Thank you. And I, from my personal experience, the ChatGPT model has been getting much better in Korean from the initial state it was in 2022. So now it's very much aware of the cultural knowledge, although it's not perfect. So with that, we're almost out of time. So I just want to let you have like a minute or two to say anything that you wanted to say that I didn't ask about, or like add on any details to whatever you've said so far. So yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So I have been to Korea, I think about 4 times. Since the launch of ChatGPT. And one of the things that encouraged me to visit is just the realization that the adoption curve in Korea was one of the fastest. And so before that, I'm Korean by background. I came to the United States when I was a really, really little kid. I was 4 years old. And I would travel back maybe once every 7 years or something like that, which is why my Korean's not that great. But I think what really kind of piqued my curiosity was my parents, who are about 75, within a month of the launch, they knew about ChatGPT because it was being reported in the Korean newspapers. They were playing with ChatGPT within a month or two of it being released. And they don't play with any new technology. And so the fact that they were using it was very interesting and kind of novel. And so when I came here, when I came to Korea for the first time and then subsequent visits, one of the things that really kind of jumped out at me was the amount of enthusiasm. One of the other things that I did is I made an effort to go to a bunch of the startup events in Korea, including some of the AI hubs that have been set up inside of Seoul with the support of the local government, which I also know has also subsidized a bunch of ChatGPT seats for government officials and workers, which I think is very forward thinking of the Seoul government. And these are things that I think really kind of stand out to me is a rapid adoption. And in many ways is actually much more advanced or further along than in the United States when it comes to how integrated and how innovative and rapid the usage of the technology is in terms of providing government services and sort of advancing the innovation pace of society at large. And so I just think that that what Korea is doing when it comes to recognizing the potential of AI and adopting it and using it and being excited about it, it's the right attitude.
Okay, well, thank you, Jason. Look forward to talking to you again at some point. Bye-bye.
Great. Thanks for the time.
네, 감사합니다. AI 컴퓨팅 인프라의 중요성, 오늘 이 전체적인 주제를 관통하는 단어가 계속 나오고 있고요. 오픈 AI의 한국과의 협력 가능성과 한국의 AI 역량 강화 방안에 대해 좋은 말씀 나눠주셨습니다. 여러분, 다시 한 번 더 큰 박수 부탁드리겠습니다. 네, 이렇게 오늘 기조 연설의 좌담까지 진행을 했습니다. 이번 순서는 정부의 정책 발표를 청해 듣는 시간인데요. 정부는 AI 산업을 육성하고 또 AI 대전환이라는 시대적 요구에 부응하기 위해서 많은 노력을 기울이고 있습니다. 오늘 이 자리에서 정부가 추구하고 있는 정책 방향을 확인하실 수 있을 것 같은데요. AI는 이제 한 분야의 기술이 아니라 이 산업 전반을 재편하고 또 국가 경쟁력을 다시 정의하는 핵심 동력이 된 만큼 아주 중요한 주제가 되었습니다. 네, 그럼 국가 AI 역량 강화 방안 발표를 주제로 오늘 발표를 해 주실 텐데요. 과학기술정보통신부의 엄열 정보통신정책관님을 무대 위쪽으로 모셔보시겠습니다. 여러분 큰 박수로 환영해 주시기 바랍니다.
네, 여러분 안녕하십니까. 과기정통부 정보통신정책관을 맡고 있는 엄열이라고 합니다. 2월 달에 국가 AI 인공지능위원회에서 발표한 컴퓨팅 인프라 확충을 중심으로 한 국가 AI 강화 방안에 대해서 간략히 말씀드리도록 하겠습니다. My name is 엄열. I am the Director General of the Ministry of Science ICT of South Korea. Today, I will explain the key points of the National AI Competence Reinforcement Plan through the AI computing infrastructure expansion. This plan was issued on last month, February 12th, 2025. Let's move on to the background. As global AI competition intensifies, major countries are attracting private investments worth hundreds of billions of dollars. Meanwhile, the global AI race for dominance has entered a new phase with a deep-seek boom, creating new opportunities. To seize this momentum, Korea needs a strategy to mobilize all available resources and elevate its national AI competence to the next level. We have built a solid foundation through the government and private sector efforts. Korea holds the third group's position globally, with the third highest number of the domestically developed AI models. But still, it lacks the infrastructure and top-tier talent pool compared to big tech and leading countries. We believe that we can reinforce our national AI competence and leap into the AI G3 by fully unlocking our potential and making necessary improvement. To achieve this, we'll implement 3 strategies. First, we'll activate the master plan for national AI computing infrastructure expansion, increasing our reserve of GPUs by 18,000 units by the first half of 2026. We'll also raise the share of the domestic AI chips at the National AI Computing Center to 50% by 2030. Also, we'll expand institutional support to drive the private sector investment in AI computing infrastructures through tax incentives and improvement to power systems and local requirements. Additionally, we'll establish a world-class open ecosystem for AI hardware and software. Supporting domestic AI chips and model packages across both public and private sectors. I want to introduce the second point. Second, we will provide full-scale support for the next generation AI model developments. The world-best LLM project will be put into action in these contracts. Through this project, we plan to provide full-scale support for the national team to develop world-class LLMs with a short period of time. We also will organize the Global AI Challenge programs, a large-scale contest to bring together teams of the top-tier talents from Korea and abroad. In the long run, we'll promote $700 million general AI R&D project to secure the next generation core AI technology beyond the LLMs. We'll also enhance the system for the cultivating top-tier AI talented. We plan to expand the Global AI Frontier Lab from New York to Europe and the Middle East, and increase support for early careers domestic researchers. Also, to attract the top-tier global AI talent, we are considering substantial financial support. Third, we built an initial market for domestic AI models by applying enhanced generative AI to sectors like education, law, and healthcare. Based on this, we'll accelerate the AX of the various industries. As I have explained, we will reinforce our national AI competence by expanding the AI computing infrastructure and thereby advance the Korea's leap forward into the AI G3. Thank you.
네, 감사합니다. 국가 AI 역량 강화 방안에 대한 정부의 의지를 담아 발표해 주신 엄열 정보통신 정책관님께 여러분 다시 한 번 더 큰 박수 부탁드리겠습니다.